going to say, but I think, the real key to this is that in many ways, unlike, let's say, European fans, who a lot of which, they've been watching the game for decades and decades and decades and generations. They have a really good idea of some of the ins and outs. So maybe they don't need as much help. But the point is, if we want more Americans to give a shit about soccer, then we need to help them understand what soccer is about. And I think that's what you're saying. And I think, most Americans who are just learning the sport, what they see when they turn on the TV is a goalie, and that's the one position they know. And then 10 players who they believe chase around the ball like, in some sort of tornado fashion. And then by some lucky chance, if you're a new fan of the sport, then the ball ends up in the back of the net. But that's not how it happens. It's very planned out. It's very methodical. And there is a technique to it. But as you also mentioned, there's a whole team dynamic issue as well. Can you explain the whole team dynamic piece as well?
Yeah, for sure. It's like there's so many little big things that happen in a game, and they dictate control. They dictate what happens. They dictate who has the ball, why, the choices that they have. How can I get into the mind's eye of a player when, Michael Bradley's coming across the field and he's got the ball? How can I understand his decisions and what I would do if I was him? That's playing armchair quarterback. That's, I love to watch baseball and try to guess which pitches. And I don't guess because of which pitches look the prettiest. I guess because of the information that my mind has, about the game. And we're just given so little to understand why they do the things they do and what the results are. And our participation in those moments is surprisingly low. Mm-hmm. I think also, I believe that, United States, we spend so much time looking outward at these other countries because they have great results when they play. And there's this interesting thing like they're like the knowledge base about soccer in other countries is so much greater, and I would argue it is. But I was actually reading on soccerblogs.com, a guy took the video that I made and he wrote an article about it, and he threw something out there that I don't know how to take it yet, but he said that he believes your average American football fan knows more about football than your average European soccer fan knows about soccer.
That's probably true.
And it's just more based on the production and how it's played and how it's taught to us. Mm-hmm. And it's not like this big, if you wanted to learn about how a train works and mm-hmm. you went to the engineer and, and if you said, hey, well, how is it? And they go, well, here, let me show you this little tiny piece here. And this is what this does. That's a lot more valuable in learning how a train works than saying, well, here's the on switch.
So are we saying that Americans, in many ways, and I actually believe this, we're just different. The way we watch sports is different because you do look at the sort of technical aspect of baseball. People sit there in the stands, at least when I was a young kid, with their sheets, and they write down everything that happens in the game. They keep track of the whole game. It's all about the numbers and the facts. And do you pitch this guy inside, or you pitch, do you throw him a curve first before you throw him a strike? It's so specific. And then in football, oh my God, X's and O's in every play, and it's very technical and detailed. Yet when people watch soccer in this country, it's just kind of like everything's a Hail Mary. It's like, but that's not totally what soccer's like.
No, and you know what the funny thing is it's easier, it's more obvious in baseball and football and basketball, the metrics of what you're doing. In basketball, it's very obvious. There's, people score, 100 times in a game, so you can make sense of what happened. Baseball, they can take very, very specific balls and strikes and this and that, and they can extrapolate all kinds of tendencies and data from that information that's worth going through. Soccer, if I were to come out and say, hey, look, they need to put more statistics in soccer, it would be like, oh, you're just like a jerk off American, that you just like things the way you like them. But you watch in the Champions League, they're just starting to look for all the different little ways that they can implement the metrics of what's happening. The new thing that I've been seeing lately is the distance that a player runs while they're on the pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they covered 11.5 kilometers.
Ray Hudson
right,
hates
cool.
that one.
Yeah, my opinion, the average U.S. Sports fan is a very visual sports fan, whereas in European they don't really follow many stats. You know, they have goals, they have winners, they have losers. You know, in the U.S. you have how many shots are taken, how many assists, how many shots on goal, how many this, how many that. You know, the whole concept of what you're bringing up as far as breaking down a play and talking about the mechanics behind it, what caused him to get that space to have that shot on goal. It takes a lot of time, and on an average game, you could show the replay and point out one aspect of that play. But by the time you do that, the game's already started. You got to run back in. I think the entire concept of this altogether would be great to have like on its own show, like an actual show, like on Fox Soccer, where they take the plays, like even like a post-game or pre-game stuff, where they take the plays and they really break it down. They show exactly like you mentioned, Bunbury was not he wasn't ready to take that shot. Like he was off step. You know, he was.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Off step. Thank you.
It's just something that you would have to spend more time on breaking it down as far as getting the average fan to understand. And with football and basketball and baseball, you have these TV timeouts. You just have breaks between plays. You have everything and anything that gives you time to really break down these plays. But with soccer, I mean, you have, even if there's a foul called or a throw-in, I mean, it's only like 2 seconds before the ball's back in play and something else is happening.
And Brad, I'm glad you bring that up, because that's the biggest question that I get in that is that, with the continuous game flow of soccer, it's not easy to break things down in replay, but I argue that it's not even about having, there's still replays. There's still probably 10 replays a half. I don't know. I don't count them, but there's still a good number, and how each of those can be addressed is different. But it's what I'm really talking about is a total reprogramming of how. And specifically, obviously the play-by-play guy comes hand in hand with this. There's a lot of big differences in how play-by-play is done. In England versus in Latin America, and the opportunities it gives to a color guy. But it's like when you're sitting there as the color guy, right? And also the accompanying TV production that gives them support, that helps them to be successful. They're sitting. I feel like the MO of the color guy is like, you have to have been an ex-player and you got to be good looking, and then once you cross those two off the list, right? It's basically that person sits there and just kind of expresses how they feel about the game. They say what they talk about what they see and how that makes them feel. It's basically no different than just sitting on the couch with one of my friends that used to play also, and having him bitch to me about the game. It's like, make no mistake about it. John Harkes, right? Like, could we not call John Harkes easily the most, hated soccer commentator in America? Yeah. I mean, like, just universally despised, right?
Taylor's working on it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, but either way, I don't blame John Harkes. I think his problem is that he's following a blueprint for how to do that job. He's following it poorly, but I think that's more a question of just how you care for his personality. Mm-hmm. John Harkes is a soccer expert. Make no mistake about it. Mm-hmm. John Harkes has played elite soccer. The best coaches, in America and England, wherever, have given him instruction. He has forgotten more about soccer than I could hope to learn in my lifetime. However, when he's watching a game and he's sitting there in the booth and giving his opinions for what they're worth, he's not tapping into that part of his soccer knowledge. He's just sitting there trying to ask himself, well, how does this make me feel? And then he opens his mouth and it's like, stupidity comes out. You want to hear the craziest thing? I would, and I'm not one for really like outrageous, assertions, but it's like, if you give me 3 months with John Harkes, I believe I could turn him into the best color commentator in America, hands down.
All right.
Well, you know what it would be like? It would be like, oh my God. Have you ever seen those shows where they show you how they train sumo wrestlers? Where they like make them stand in one position, and if they flinch or move, then they like whack them with like one of those bamboo sticks.
Yeah, it looks painful.
It's like I would sit there and we just watch games, and every time he wants to just say how something makes him feel or just point out the thing that I'm already seeing happening, whack.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
before you know it, it's like just get smaller,
or a little Clockwork Orange action there. That might work as well. Our only problem at this point is, Christopher, we are well over time. So if you could kind of finish up and let us know how, or let the folks out there know how they can find your video about the soccer and the mechanics of the sport on TV.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, the video is called Soccer on TV and the Mechanics of Sport, or vice versa, I don't know. You can find it on YouTube by searching Soccer Mechanics. And the thing I want to say is this. It's like the video is pretty self-explanatory. You get my point. It's very easy to understand. But don't think about it in terms of what's possible in the flow of a game or what you can do. Analysis in terms of what to look out for, what to keep an eye out for, what to take away from the game, things you can learn, little bits and pieces that will build a person's knowledge about the game of soccer over time. There is 1 million opportunities every game, and you don't need replays. You just need somebody that's sitting there with a production team that is working to try to find those type of things and understanding the value and benefit to viewers of learning them. And that's making your average person take that next step and become a bigger fan, and taking the people that are already fans and improving their knowledge of the sport so that they're able to bring that knowledge base to every game they coach or every game they play. Absolutely.
And unfortunately, since we're limited to 15-minute segments, I mean, we probably could have gone on with this all night. But people, if you're out there, check out this video. It is, if you're a soccer fan especially, this is something you'll want to watch. And in fact, we'll post it up, a link to it as well on the Straight Red Card Facebook page, and so you can watch it there if you can't find it on YouTube. And Christopher, thanks for coming on and joining us at whatever weird odd time it is there in Italy right now. And we're going to have you back on, so stay with us.
All right. Hey,
all right.
Thanks for so much. And this is my last night. If it wasn't for you guys, I'd be way drunker. So I'm glad that you guys.
You mean like us?
It doesn't stop us.
Yeah.
No, I gotta fly tomorrow, and that's not the way you want to do it. So
yeah.
So thank God, it's been a blast. Seriously.
Same here. All right. Thanks, Christopher. Hey, take care, man.